It's time, Brooksy. The Fall Classic is here. And the Diamondbacks, what the fuck? I woke up this morning and I'm like, wait, the Diamondbacks in the World Series. I'm still wrapping my mind around that idea.
Right. I know. That's how I feel too about the Texas Rangers, just because, and we tapped into this a little bit in the last pod. I grew up a diehard Texas Ranger fan, and I'm trying not to be a fanboy here, and I'm trying to be a baseball analyst and be unbiased. But 8-year-old Will is fired up for the Texas Rangers, knowing they've lost a couple World Series before, how close they were back with Nelly Cruz drifting back, missing the ball, David Freese going ham, beating them. So this is another chance for those Texas Rangers to get it done. 62 seasons they've played and haven't won a World Series. Ouch.
Diamondbacks have been around for less than half that, and they're already in their second World Series, looking for their second ring. How about that?
You know what? I got something for that. All right. So I was talking to my Texas Ranger friends from back home, because I still have a ton of friends in Texas, in Dallas, Houston, Texarkana, where I'm from. And I said, look, things aren't looking good. And I want to preface this by saying, and we'll get to why, but I am picking the Texas Rangers to win the World Series. But they got something big working against them. All right, so let's rewind back to spring training 2001. Okay. Randy Johnson, the infamous heater that killed the Dove. Remember that?
Well, I was 5 years. I was 5 years old, but yes, I've seen.
That's irrelevant. Okay, he threw a fastball. You've seen the video. The bird explodes. He kills the bird. Right. Of
course.
They go on in 2001 to win their first World Series, just 3 years after they became a team. Well, guess what? Fast forward to May 17th, 2023. Zach Gallen, who is the Diamondbacks ace this year, in the outfield doing a side session against the Oakland A's, he drills a bird. Boom, kills a bird. Is that not an omen? And then now they're back in the World Series. So I'm going, if history repeats itself, man, they are setting themselves up by sacrificing a bird to win a World Series. Now, I did tell my Texas Ranger fans, there is something positive to look forward to. David Freese does not play for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So you don't have to worry about him crushing doubles and homers and ruining your lives. You just have to worry about this omen of Zach Gallen sacrificing a bird like Randy Johnson did back in 01.
Is that some sort of natural selection? There's a natural selection.
Feels that way, right?
Darwin jokes somewhere in there.
Isn't that? I don't know, man. It's pretty weird. The fact that happened. The only other time that's happened is this year, and they're back in the World Series after winning only 84 games.
I don't know.
Pretty odd coincidence. I'll just say that.
I think Christy Matheson had to have killed a few birds back in the 40s, 20s.
Okay,
30s.
But you get what I'm saying. 01.
Nobody caught it on camera.
The World Series. Do it again. Somehow get back to the World Series.
It is weird. No, it is a weird coincidence, no doubt. So what you're saying is, later down the road, if the Diamondbacks want to get to another World Series, they're going to have to sacrifice a bird, a la the Cleveland Indians in the movie Major League.
Yeah, so they're going to need someone.
A live chicken. We need a live chicken.
If the Texas Rangers can, if it's legal to sign Pedro Serrano to combat this, now's the time. Call Pedro up. He's got to come. Okay, George Bush is throwing the first pitch in Game 1.
Yeah.
Adrian Beltre is throwing the first pitch in Game 2. So it would have to be Game 6 back in Arlington if they get to a Game 6, where maybe you get Pedro Serrano in there to throw the first pitch with like a voodoo doll.
KFC with a Kentucky Fried Bowl or
no, it's just a voodoo doll of Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll's leading off. Then it's going to go Ketel Marte, Gabriel Moreno, Christian Walker, Tommy Pham, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Alec Thomas, Evan Longoria, followed by Geraldo Perdomo in the 9th spot. And then Zach Gallen on the bump.
I think this is a much closely matched World Series than people think. The betting, you start looking at the betting numbers. I know we don't do a lot of betting stuff, but it's heavily in favor of Texas. I think Diamondbacks are plus 140, 145. I don't know, man.
I mean, I think on paper the Rangers are the.
So was Philly.
the better team. Agreed. So I've been kind of making this argument.
So was LA. So was Milwaukee.
Everybody talked about the Phillies lineup, right? The Rangers line, and people have to compare, obviously. Like, you're talking about the World Series, you're previewing things, like you're trying to get some type of leg up here of like, oh, this team does well against these hitters, et cetera, et cetera. When you compare the Phillies lineup to the Rangers lineup, it's different. The Phillies did a really, really good job of slugging. Like, they were putting balls in the seats, man. Like, at 1 through 9, those guys could get you at any time.
And normally, and if you look at the numbers, teams that out homer the other team in this year's postseason are 21-4, man. So homers matter.
Yep. Philly this postseason had a 488 slug. That's best in baseball. Texas is a little bit of a different flavor. Now, they slug. They got Adolis Garcia, Nathaniel Lowe can take you deep. Corey Seager can take you deep. Simeon can take you deep. They have power. Don't get me wrong. But they're a little bit more of a variety. And that they have like Tavares at the bottom of their lineup, or they'll mix in a Robbie Grossman or an Evan Carter. Evan Carter can get on base.
He's in the 3-hole today.
So it's very different than Philly, because Philly's like, okay, solo shot, oh, 2-run homer. Like, they build up a bunch of solo shots. That's what Philly did against Arizona. And I think it actually hurt them because they didn't have as many guys on base because they were hitting so many home runs. Yeah. Texas has, let's look at on base percentage. Texas has the second best on base percentage behind only the Brewers. And as we all know, the Brewers are gone after 2 games. So the Texas Rangers have the highest on base percentage this year among teams.
Well, I mean, that's how Arizona beat you too, right? Like, they play small ball. They need traffic on the base pass because when they kind of cause chaos on the base pass. You're probably not gonna see a whole lot of hitting and running going on in the World Series, but they stole a lot of bases. They were 8 for 16 those last 2 games, right? Like, they stole 4 bases in each of those games. Yeah. So that's they apply pressure. I'll put it that way. They apply pressure. They force you to make plays. And in the World Series, when emotions are high, when nerves are high, there's only 7 players total on both teams combined that have been to the World Series before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young players here. So nerves and emotion are going to play big, especially early in this series. That's why I like Nathan Eovaldi on the mound in Game 1. He's been there, done that. He's also got a chance to do something historic today. No pitcher has ever won 5 starts in the postseason. That's 5 starts. There have been pitchers. There's 3 guys who have won 5 games. They have 5 wins, but those include relief appearances. Randy Johnson. I got to look up the other guys. No, Randy Johnson's one of them. There's
Bumgarner, maybe.
Who?
Bumgarner.
No, it wasn't Bumgarner. There was a Rodriguez. You have to look it up. But anyways, if he wins his start today, he'll be the first all time to win 5 starts. And if they get to a Game 5, which I think they will, he starts again, he could have a chance to win 6.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Eovaldi, like the legend of, I just mentioned Madison Bumgarner as the greatest postseason pitcher of all time. Eovaldi, if he has another dominant World Series, man, what he did with the Red Sox in 2018 when they ended up hoisting a trophy, and now here in 23, man, if he just continues to make history, as you just said, he has the opportunity to do. Eovaldi could cement himself as one of, if not the greatest postseason pitcher. Truthfully, when you look at the numbers, he could cement himself as the greatest postseason pitcher of all time. You could make that argument depending on how this World Series works out. Simeon's leading off. Seager in the 2-hole, Evan Carter, Adolis Garcia, Mitch Garver's DHing, Jonah Heim behind the dish, Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Young, and Tavares is in center field with Eovaldi on the bump. Do you think there's something to that, though? The Phillies just, like the Diamondbacks were able to shoulder the solo shots and the 2-run homers, and they were able to kind of limit damage control. Whereas Texas, you are just constantly in the stretch. There are runners on base. That's a good point.
I mean, it clearly was part of their game plan. You look at Philly's best 4 hitters. I mean, and Turner, Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos. They were like 1 for 32 in the last 2 games combined.
Yeah.
They shut down their superstar. So that's how they beat them. The guys who normally beat the other team for the Phillies couldn't do it. So there was, I think, maybe more of a focus on getting those guys out. And then it's like, let's make the back half of this lineup beat us, and they couldn't do it.
I thought of this like as a former pitcher, like which would I rather face? A lineup where 9 guys can take you deep at any time, or a lineup with a little bit more of a variety, such as Texas, where They have guys on base constantly. They have about 4 to 5 to 6 guys that can take you deep at any time, but they're a little bit more gap to gap, a little bit less of a home run threat than the Phillies were. I don't know which I'd rather face.
Well, as a pitcher, which one are you going to have to throw more pitches against? Which one is going to get your pitch count up more? The guys, exactly. They're going to work counts. They're gonna take their walks. They're gonna take their singles. You're not gonna strike out on 2 guys trying to go bridge, and then you give up a solo homer and then get the next guy out. You'll throw 16 pitches. If guys are single, walk, double, like seeing pitches, you're all to look up and you're like, I threw over 20 pitches that inning.
Yeah.
So it's
I think like the eye test, you'd rather face the Rangers because seeing a ball.
The eye test because of the names. The names. Bryce Harper. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Castellanos, like that. You see those names and you think damage.
Yeah.
Right? Even Corey Seager, who had one of the best seasons ever, considering the amount of games he missed due to injury this year, you still see him and you don't fear him.
You should.
You should.
Absolutely. You absolutely should.
You should, but it's not the same. It doesn't carry the same weight as Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, especially in the postseason, right?
That's because he doesn't show any emotion at all.
Zero.
Yeah.
Semien hardly does either.
Nah, he really doesn't. They're really actually, even Adolis, I know he does the bat flipping and the slow walks down first base line. He's pretty humble as a guy. Like when you hear him
he gets fired up, which he should. I mean,
yeah.
We don't have to get into that whole situation, but like when he bat flipped and celebrated, that was the biggest homer of his life, dude. And I know we don't take into effect like the personal side of things, and you talked about in our last episode about what all he's been through to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what was going through his head on the human side of that. Like he just hit the biggest homer of his life after all this shit he's been through. Come on, man, bat flip. That's whatever. That's why I know for a fact, because I talked to guys in the Astros clubhouse who said we didn't give a shit about him celebrating. We knew how big of a homer that was.
Really?
That's part of why I'm not giving names. Sorry. I can't play both sides here.
Now I want to know.
But I can't. I can't. I made a promise.
You're just a big teaser, man.
But there were guys, hold on. There were guys publicly who even came out and said we didn't care. Justin Verlander came out and said he didn't care.
Yeah.
And he's very outspoken. He doesn't care what people think of him at this point in his career.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You think he gives a shit if he comes out and he's like, yeah, we don't like how he pimped his homer.
Yeah.
He even came out and said, no, we didn't care. That's why I was like, he didn't hit him on purpose unless it was like he did it on his own and no one knew about it, because there were people in that bullpen that said no, there was no talk of that in the bullpen before he came in the game. That's the only hand
I want to clarify something. Like we were talking about on the last episode. Like we talked about a little bit like small markets, and I want to clarify, like this isn't necessarily a small market, because Phoenix, Arizona is one of the largest growing metropolises in the United States. Dallas, Texas is one of the biggest metropolises in the United States. But when you're taking into account baseball markets, it's a little bit different here. Okay. So this isn't a blue blood Boston Red Sox fan base. This isn't a blue blood Yankees, Phillies. This is different. These are teams, Southern and West Coast here, that are a little bit new to Major League Baseball. Not necessarily baseball, but Major League Baseball. And so I saw some people that were saying like, this World Series isn't going to make people like baseball. Baseball's the same as it was 50 years ago. And I want to respond to that by saying the casual fan, this is just a reality of life. The casual fan does not watch their local team unless their local team is winning.
Right.
That's just the way it is. And so when you have a team like the Rangers who could hoist a trophy, you're going to have more casual fans either show up to the ballpark, watch via TV, follow their team. And similarly in Arizona as well, you have this growing metropolis, Phoenix, Arizona. You're going to have more people on the outskirts in Scottsdale and up in Prescott and everywhere in Arizona that are going to be a little bit more tuned into the game. So no, you're not going to change the game, but you could change the perspective on these teams. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we don't have to dig deep into this. We already did, but the diehard fans are still watching. Will ratings take a hit in this World Series? Yeah, of course, because the teams with the massive followings aren't in it. Yeah. But the Texas Rangers and the Diamondbacks are going to have more fans next year than they did this year. There's going to be more kids. There's going to be more adults. There's going to be more fans wearing their gear next year because of the season they had this year. And there's no way around that. Is what it is. That's how it works. How do you think the Yankees got so famous? They won a lot.
They won. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. It's a great point.
It's really simple. Like, we make it really complicated. Winning brings in more fans.
Yeah.
You get to a World Series, bandwagoners, they're fans. You keep winning, they become not as casual because they watch more and more and more the more you win. You win, you get more fans, period.
Why were you a Ranger fan? Just local?
Because I lived 40 minutes away.
You didn't want to be an Astro fan?
I could go watch the Rangers. It was a lot closer.
Yeah.
It was 35, 40 minutes away. Houston was 4 hours away.
Okay.
So, and my buddy had season tickets for the Rangers.
Right.
So I went and watched them, and I love the team. Like, that was like Juan Gonzalez, Dean Palmer, Pudge, A-Rod played there, Rusty Greer, like Nolan, like all those legends that came through there. Like, those were my guys.
Who was your childhood baseball hero?
Cal Ripken Jr.
Did you ever get to meet him?
Big shortstop. I was a big shortstop.
Did you ever get to meet him?
Yeah.
How
So
cool.
I actually I have to get this signed. I don't know how I'm going to do it. One of my good buddies knew I was a really big fan of Cal Ripken Jr. and he had this ball. So, when there's like a, opening day or like July 4th or whatever holiday or something you're playing on, there's a big event, they put a certain stamp on the ball.
Yeah. So
there was a stamp on the ball with it was from the game he broke the record for consecutive games played. And I have one of those balls unused. It was one of the ones that was supposed to be used in the game. Obviously, all the balls don't get used. So it got put back in the box with the wrapper, unused ball from that game with the stamp that has that. So I have to get him to sign that. And that'll be like, I have a signed ball by him. I just don't have that ball signed yet.
That's cool. Very cool.
Sick.
We'll have to get him on the pod at some point. Cal, what's up, baby? Join the WAKE and RAKE. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper on the teams, and let's try and inch a little bit closer to our predictions here. I know you alluded to it earlier. Who do you think has a better rotation? Rangers, Diamondbacks?
You know what? This wouldn't have been that close had Brandon Pfaadt not done what he did in that last series. I think Max Scherzer continues to improve just because he has 2 starts under his belt after missing over a month, like 40 days. So I think Scherzer actually ends up, and he's been there, done that, which helps. Brandon Pfaadt has not. Now, he's never pitched in a LCS either, and he shoved against a good lineup. So he'll be effective. I'm going to give the edge to the Texas Rangers.
Okay. With
the rotation. With Eovaldi, Montgomery, Scherzer. And we'll see what they do like in a 4th game, whether it's piece together Andrew Heaney, Dane Dunning, John Gray, bullpen type game, but I think they're capable of still winning those type games. I'll give the edge to Texas. It's close. It's closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that game 3 is that's crucial. Like, that could decide the series.
But who would ever think like Max Scherzer versus Brandon Pfaadt would be a good game?
Yeah.
He had a 5.7 in the regular season. He got sent down to AAA, but he found it at the right time.
Bullpen wise, Diamondbacks,
Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, you know what though? The bullpen for the Texas Rangers deserve a lot of credit this postseason. It hasn't been good. It was not great in the LCS.
They had a very tough month to end the season.
Yeah.
But they did their job. They did their job against Houston. That's a tough offense. So they still figured it out.
Regular season, their bullpen ERA was up over 4. In the postseason, here it's been 3.72.
What was it?
3.72, 3.72 ERA. So it's been better.
Okay. Been better. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Texas bullpen.
Yeah, I agree.
Chapman can come in and have an immaculate inning, or he could come in and not throw strikes at all. So you don't really know what you're going to get there. And he scares me because at some point he's going to be in a big spot anywhere from the 6th to the 8th inning. and going to be able to affect the game one way or the other. So,
two X factors for me, and I think you're going to see a heavy dive of these two guys is Joe Mantiply, Andrew Saalfrank, two lefties in the Arizona bullpen.
Saalfrank maybe not as heavy usage because he had some issues against the Phillies. He couldn't stop walking guys.
True. Okay, well, more so Joe.
Like he would come in and walk two guys, right? Like he's brought in to face Schwarber, Turner, and Harper. Obviously, the two lefties you have to face three batters. So, and then he would walk Schwarber and Harper both times. I think you're just trying to be too fine, right? He's trying to be perfect with his stuff. When, hey man, just rely on that you're a lefty throwing a nasty breaking ball and just make a pitch. But that's part of being young. It's part of being young.
They need somebody to slow down Corey Seager. One of those two guys is probably.
Well, Mantiply is going to get a lot of innings. He's up almost every game.
But
don't forget about Ginkel and Sewald.
Of course,
those guys are two of the most uncomfortable at bats in the postseason right now.
Yeah, and Sewald does a good job getting lefties out, at least in this postseason too.
Well, he's good because, I don't want to dig too deep into analytics, but you start looking at like vertical attack angle, right? He releases the ball lower, so his fastball, obviously he spins it at over 2,500 RPMs anyway, so he's one of the higher fastball spin guys as is. But you add that with a lower vertical attack angle where Garrett Cole's up here, but like he's releasing the ball down here, so the fastball stays up, right? It stays. You see guys swing through that fastball at the top of the zone because as a hitter, you see a release of a baseball and that fastball comes down a little bit. It's just natural. It's gravity. It might look like it's rising on TV, but it's not. It's still coming down. That's the whole point of like swinging up a little bit to meet that plane. And what's good about Paul Sewald is like his doesn't come down as much. So these guys are swinging up and his fastball staying up. So the point of where like fastball plane meets swing plane is very small compared to other guys where like their bat's in the zone longer with the pitch. Because they're matching the plane, it's really hard to match his plane of his fastball because of the way, number one, he releases the ball low, he spins it well, so he has like almost hardly any. He's like 4 inches of vertical drop, or I don't know the exact number. It's way lower vertical drop than other pitchers, so it stays up. It's magic, honestly. Like it's rare what he can do. It's hard to teach it. I've been talking to guys about it today, trying to figure it out, and it's just like insane what he does. It's magic.
So starting pitching wise, you gave the leg.
I just went so deep analytical dive on Paul Sewald, but it's really interesting.
Starting pitching wise, you gave the leg up to the Rangers, correct?
Yeah.
You gave the bullpen leg up to the D-backs. Finally, offensively.
This one's close, man. But I am going to go Texas Rangers.
I don't think it's close. The Rangers lineup fucking bash.
I think it's close just looking at how the Diamondbacks played last series. They're scrappy, man.
But Scrappy's not dominant like the Rangers.
No, but that's what we said about the Phillies too, man. We said Phillies are going to the World Series, no question. They're going to beat the brakes off of the Arizona Diamondbacks, right?
I'm not saying Scrappy can't win. I'm just saying on paper.
Oh, I know Scrappy can win. We just watched it happen.
I'm saying on paper, the Rangers are much significantly better than the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't talking about paper. I guess I was just talking about like where we're at right now.
And what you think might happen. Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree. On paper, Rangers offense much better. Where we're at right now, it's a little closer than that, just because of how the Diamondbacks, basing off how they played last series against some good arms. But I still think the Rangers offense is better.
And finally, your prediction for the 2023 World Series is?
Pause. I also want to say you have to look at the managers in the World Series.
That's true.
That plays a massive part. When you got to realize these guys have nerves too, and they might pull a guy too early, leave them in too long because the wheels are spinning. Bruce Bochy's been there, bub. He's been there a lot.
So you're taking Boch over Torrey then?
I love Torrey. Torrey, but I have to give the advantage to the Hall of Famer who has been there, done that, and has a bunch of rings to show for it.
Yeah,
he's been there. He knows what it takes. Torrey's been he's bench coach on the team too, but he has not been El Jefe in a World Series where it's all going to fall on him. When things go south, nobody's going to be talking to his bench coach. They're going to be talking to him. So I'm not saying Torrey can't do this because I love Torrey and he is a baseball genius. And I think he's calm enough. I think he's smart enough, number one. And I think he has enough balls to do it. I have to go with the Hall of Famer in this situation. But yes, I'm picking the Texas Rangers. I want it to go 7, but I think it's Rangers in 6.
Okay. I will go Rangers in 6.
Same as me.
Same as you. I think it's just going
to be I got to start covering my paper when I'm writing my answers down.
I think it's going to be too many base runners for the Diamondbacks to handle. I think depth-wise, Texas overpowers Arizona. You know what, man? It doesn't matter. Both these teams has been a very successful season on both sides.
I think this is going to be an entertaining World Series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion.
Regardless of TV ratings and all that, this is going to be 2 very athletic, young, fun baseball teams to watch.
Evan Longoria does not get his ring. Does not get his ring. He was last in the World Series as a 22-year-old rookie with the Rays. Now he's 38 years old. He waited 15 years to get back to the World Series.
Longest stretch ever by a non-pitcher.
That's cool.
To get back. 15 seasons.
And we're both saying he's still not going to get it. That's unfortunate. He's going to have to go back to the Giants next year to get it, I guess.
No chance.
World Series content, baby. Enjoy the Fall Classic. A lot of content on the Wake and Rake pages. Do that thing where YouTubers say subscribe and do the subscribe thing if you're watching.
Hit the button now.
Hit the button. Peace out, people. We'll talk soon.